Hey guys, thanks for stopping by Ballistic Barbecue. On this video, we're going to be dry aging a beef standing rib roast. Let's get going. All right, before we actually start this video, I want to give a quick thank you to the folks at Umai who actually made the production of this video possible. Thank you guys, appreciate it. Let's get going. All right, what I have here is a 20.61 pound standing rib roast, bone in. This is USDA choice and it's Black Angus. Now, if you purchase this from a butcher behind the counter, there's a good chance the butcher is going to offer up separating the bones from the meat, then trussing the bones onto the roast. Just kindly decline that offer because we want the bones intact for this process. So this is in the cryovac. It's how you're going to pick it up from the store usually. Next step will be simply removing the cryovac. All right, as you can see out of the cryovac, we have a gorgeous roast here. I'm going to show you a couple of the products that I will be using from Umai today. First thing will be the short loin and brisket set, and I'll show you what we have inside the bag here. Open up the packaging and we have here step-by-step instructions for dry aging your meat, and this is a perfect supplement to my video. We also have 3 of the large Umai dry bags, which are perfect for a big piece of meat like this, a brisket, and then a packet of the vac mouse, which you'll need in order to get a good seal on the bag. Let's get going with the actual process. All right, the first thing we need to do with a bone-in roast is take steps to protect the bag from these bones. They're very sharp on the edges. Now, just one other point, I did not rinse or wipe the juices from the bag when I removed it from the cryovac. All right, we have a couple options in order to protect the bag from these sharp bone edges. You can take regular old paper towels, moisten them a little bit, and lay them along the bone's edge, folded. Or you can do what I like to do. This is a product that I use a lot. This is parchment paper, baking parchment paper. You find it in the area of the store that carries the foil and the plastic bags and such. So what I've done is I've taken a sheet of the parchment paper, moistened it, and then folded it. And what I'm going to do is just lay this right along the edge, cut off the excess. Now the nice thing about the parchment paper is it's not very fibrous. So when you're done with this dry aging process, it'll peel right off. There we go. All right, now for the challenging part. I'm going to get this giant in one of these bags. Here's the bag right here. First thing we're going to do is make a cuff. Just fold it over. There's a small end and a large end. What we're going to do is take the small end and insert that in the bag first. And again, just make sure that those pieces of parchment or the paper towel, whatever you're using, stays in place. There we are. I'm going to go ahead and set this on the dry counter and change my butcher paper that I have on my cutting board. All right, before we move on to the next step, a few words about the vacuum machine I'm using. This is the Food Saver V2461, also available at Umai. And this thing is perfect for the Umai dry bag process. So what we're going to do first is open up the lid. It's a wide bag here. It's actually wider than the vacuum chamber. So what we're going to do is make a diagonal weld across the bag's edge so we can assure that we get a good seal here. I'm going to turn this at about a 45-degree angle. Close the lid. Now, if your machine has a moist setting, that's what we're going to do. If your machine does not have a moist setting, then you're going to want to do 2 seals on it. So we're going to go ahead and set the moist, then seal only. All right, that's done. So we're going to remove the bag. Take our handy dandy scissors and remove that excess material. All right, now we're going to take that vac mouse. Now, what the vac mouse is, it's just a fibrous material that allows the air to flow through. Since these Umai bags are smooth on both sides, without this, it's very difficult to get a good vacuum. So we're going to go ahead and insert this in. All right, now we're going to take this little opening we created. We're going to make sure that it goes into the vacuum chamber, but also crosses over that heat seal bar. Close the lid. Again, we're going to set moist. This time we're going to do seal and vacuum. Now, as this vacuum seals, we're going to massage out some of the air bubbles, but don't get overly concerned with those air bubbles. You do not need to get every one of them out. We're vacuum sealing this just to get that membrane to make good contact with the meat. It's not really just to get a vacuum seal on it. All right, we're done. So we got a good seal on here. Again, if you did not have the moist setting on your vacuum sealer, you'll need to seal this twice just to make sure you get a good seal. The sole purpose of using the vacuum machine is to simply get this material to adhere to the meat. After about 5 days in the refrigerator, it's actually going to bond. Now, this is a very, very special material that actually allows moisture and oxygen to leave this meat, but it's not going to let any foul odors that may be present in your refrigerator, any nasty things into the bag. So it's a really, really cool product. All right, next step is going to be placing this meat in my fridge. I have glass shelves in my refrigerator. You want to make sure that you have a good airflow around this piece of meat. So I will be using like a wire cookie rack to place this meat on top of. We want to make sure we're using a modern refrigerator, not something like circa 1960. You don't want to use a little dorm refrigerator either, a little beer fridge. We need a modern refrigerator. One of the reasons is they actually have circulating air in there, and it helps keep the frost-free function going, but it's also going to keep that air flowing around this meat. After 5 days, I will be turning it over. Now we're going to leave this meat in the fridge, in the bag, for a total of 35 days. Now what's happening is as it dry ages, moisture's leaving. It's going to cause that really concentrated beefy flavor. Now in addition to that, the enzymes are going to work in tenderizing this meat. So it's going to be pure decadence when we get done with this. Anyway guys, I will see you in 35 days. All right, I'm back 35 days later. You can see how that Umai Dry Steak Bag is actually adhered to the surface of the meat. It's almost like one now. So, first thing we need to do, obviously, is get this bag off of the meat. All right, so I have that bag material removed. I wanted to show you how easy this parchment paper that I put on comes off. You can see it just peels right off and it leaves no residue at all, no fiber, so there's no need to clean up there. So next thing we're going to do is remove this kind of a tough, desiccated, waxy kind of bark that's developed here. We're going to trim that off and then we'll start staking this out. All right, trim's coming on really good. Very happy so far. The next thing I'm going to do is remove this membrane off the back of these rib bones, this elastin. Anybody that's cooked spare ribs and removes this membrane is very familiar with this process. Basically, I like to take a butter knife. I'm just going to work it underneath. You can hear it kind of opening up. And then I take the little finger. This is what he's here for. Stick it in here and just start tearing. And if it slips, just grab a paper towel and start working it. Now it's dried, so it's not going to come off in one beautiful sheet like you'll get with regular ribs, regular spare ribs. So it's going to take a little bit of work, but it's worth it in the long run. So I'm going to get to going on that. All right, coming along nicely. Next thing we're going to do, and this is just for presentation purposes, we're going to go ahead and French the bones here. This is just going to give that, that cool factor. I want to make mention as well, none of the meat you're seeing me cut off is going to waste. All the trimmings I save. A lot of this I use for hamburger, stir fry, sausages, whatever, but nothing goes to waste. All right, so we have the meat between the bones here we're going to cut out. Again, this stuff is right next to the bones, very sweet, and I love grinding this into hamburger. You'll see a video of that soon. All right, next thing I'm going to do is just clean up these bones a little bit. All right, this roast is absolutely looking gorgeous. I have the bones all cleaned up. Looks very fancy schmancy. Next thing is going to be staking this out. Now, if you buy a bone-in ribeye at the butcher store or at your grocery store, they've actually run this roast through a bandsaw, which allows them to get a thinner slice. I don't have a bandsaw. I'm going to cut this by hand, which is going to leave us with a nice thick, it's a cowboy steak, probably suitable for 2 people, 1 steak. Now, when you buy a roast like this, if you plan on doing this dry age process, I would talk to the person while you're buying it at the counter, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to run it through their saw when you're done with the dry aging. Anyway, so let's get going with this. First thing we're going to do is take the boning knife, and I just want to cut right through the joint here where the 2 bones meet. There's a little gap there. And that's what I'm talking about. Nice, crazy thick steak. Continue doing this. All right, guys, and here we have it. Beautiful, beautiful cowboy steaks. Look at the marbling on this meat. It's decadent. The fat is just so soft and buttery, and it's just got a nice, clean, beefy smell coming off of it right now. Really looking forward to grilling these bad boys up. Probably going to make a video at it at the same time. Anyway, guys, thank you for stopping by. Thanks once again, Umai. Check out their channel. Links down below. Check out their store. Links down below. I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.